Okay, so I had promised I was going to do a trade recap of the trade I took on Friday. I'm doing this recording on Saturday the 13th of May. The trade was on the 12th, that's Friday. Okay, so let's just analyze this together, okay? Of course, this is in hindsight, but of course, it is a trade I took, not a trade that I wanted to take, right? I actually did take the trade. So let's do this together. So to start with, let's take out, or let's use the, let's take out some candles. So let's take this back to Friday. Yep. Let's take this back to Friday. Okay. So this was the last candle. This was Friday, 6 a.m. candle. Yeah, this was Friday, 2 a.m. 4-hour candle, right? So you can see clearly here in terms of market structure that we had a bullish market structure. Price had taken out this high. We had this new high here. Price had reversed, but then price had wicked the range, the swing, the low of the range. So you can see that we had this, this 4-hour candle wick that took this out. Now, based on how we trade, of course, I don't trade off candles, rejections and things like that. The people who who trade, all of those things, I would have probably taken this as a buy signal. But anyways, so this was 2 a.m. on the on Friday. So let's take this to the 15 minutes chart. So if I go to the 15 minutes chart here, you can see. So let's analyze the 15 minute chart. Now, clearly we know that based on structure, right, on the 4-hour, we had this, the 4-hour low, the swing low was wicked, right? The swing low was wicked based on the 4-hour. Now, when you look at this here, you can see clearly, if I just draw something here, you can see that this was the high, right? That was where you had the 4-hour break of structure, and then this was the low of that range, okay? This low to this high. Now, you can see clearly here, looking at the crosshair, you can see that this was, the wick, right? The 4-hour wick that sort of wicked that low on the 4-hour, and then, we had that reversal. Now, on the 15 minutes, we have this structure. Clearly, we can see that the 15 minutes is bearish, right? We had this low taking out, price pull back up. After that swept liquidity, sort of swept liquidity, although we still had, of course, the supplies around here, price tapped into it. This was a trade I saw. I remember this trade on the Monday of this week, but I didn't take this trade for whatever reason. I didn't take the trade anyways, but it's there. Anyway, so what then happened was so here we are. So this was Thursday. So Thursday price, started reversing by 5:45 a.m. in the morning, Friday. So you can see price was around here. Now I had drawn my structure. So we could see here that we had a low here, we had a push up, and then a wick, and then eventually a break of structure, a continuation break of structure, price pull back into this area. This, you can see this sell to buy candle here. So price reacted to that, and then that led to a break of structure. Right, so when of course, Friday morning, I knew that this area, this supply zone here, was what led to this low being taken out. So I was expecting price to pull into this area, and then I'll trade that continuation. Now, you must also understand that this was Friday, so I knew that because it was Friday, whatever direction price decides to go will be the direction it just pursues all through the day, right? I just know that anyway. So we had price here return into this area. So I had my 15 minutes. Now, usually how I'd enter on the 15 minutes, and I'll also enter the 1 minute. So I had my 15 minutes set up like this. I took the Fibonacci tool, drew it out. And then here I had my 15 minutes entry at the 50 minutes, the equilibrium of the Fibonacci tool. So I had something like this, pretty much something like this, okay? But I knew that price was eventually going to tap into this 4-hour demand zone. And why was that my expectation? Let me explain that. Why I expected that. It was Friday, and I could see clearly here on the 4-hour. As you can see, this low already has been wicked. Now, price could have returned into the supply zone before we had that continuation. But I just knew that if I see the setup on the 15 minutes, that that follows, of course, my expectation, I would just take that trade, okay? So I knew that price could tap into the supply zone, this extreme supply, not so much of an extreme, but tap into the supply before the continuation. But I was willing to look for structure in the 15 minutes and trade that. So looking at this imbalance we had here, okay, this was an unmitigated 4-hour demand zone. Okay, so I was suspecting that price is actually going to tap into this, considering the fact that price has sort of lost momentum, okay, to really push to the upside. So I was just suspecting that this was going to be, a sell-off. Now there's so many other things you can use actually for confluence, the dollar index and all of that, but that's not what we're doing here. So I just want to show you the thought process behind this trade, right? Okay, so I had this. So this was 5.5. So I knew or suspecting the price would tap into this area before we get that sell off, and this was actually my target, right? Now let's see what happened. So 5.5, next candle is 6:15, 6:30. I usually will not take any trade until 8 a.m. That's standard for me, right? So this is now 8. Now you could see clearly 8 a.m. That's UTC plus 1 anyways. So price had tapped into this area. If I wanted to reduce my risk to reward, I would have actually put my entry around here, okay? And I would have gotten a 15-minute entry, but I just wanted to really I'll say extract more from this trade. So I was really just wanting to have my entry around here, just so that if it goes in my direction, I actually get more. Instead of getting 1 to 5, I would actually get like 1 to 10 or 1 to 11 or something around that nature, even under 15 minutes. Now, the principle of entry, it's always for me, is that price must always give me the opportunity to enter on the 15 minutes before I look for the 1 minute entry. So if I see an opportunity on the 15 minutes and it's clear that it follows structure, that means I can look for 1 minute entry. But if that is not the case, then I don't have any entry at all. Now typically this would be my target, right? Typically, because this was the last low, so I expect that price would tap into the supply zone and at least tap into this area before maybe after a break of structure, or may get a reversal or may get a continuation, right? So usually this is what we expect, right? So this was the high, we had this. Now we've had price return into this area, or let me even begin from way back. Let's do something. So look at this. So price dropped here. We had this push, reacted to this buy to supply. The supply buy to supply is a week now, right? The supply zone. Price pushed down again. Break of structure. Now price is pulled into this area. Now this is classic structure, market structure that I teach in the course, right? So we have this. So it's our expectational order flow is that the market will continue to sell. Okay, of course we'll look at the time frame so we know what to expect. If price violates this, we know it's going to tap into the 4-hour, and then we'll look for structure. But this was structure, and this Friday, it's the time was right, London opening and all of that. So anyway, so our expectation that price will tap into this, and then we'll have at minimum price tap into this area. So we'll take our profit here at minimum. But it was Friday, so and I knew that it was more, the likelihood of price tapping into this 4-hour POI was really high. So I decided to really just get that kind of to extract more. But mind you, price can do anything. Price can tap into this area and then completely reverse. So you may end up having something like this. Let me show you this. So price can do this, break this structure, and then completely just reverse on you. And then if you haven't taken partial profit, okay, you're gonna be regretting for the rest of the day. Anyway, so that was that. So that was my expectation. So but I knew that price Friday, so price was gonna get into this area. So this was my setup. Now on the 15 minutes, price came, tapped into the supply zone, but did not come up to this area. Okay, so but what I did was I went to the 1 minute. So I went to the 1 minute because I would usually enter both on the 15 minutes and also the 1 minute. Now let me just take this out so we can do this together. That was actually the setup. That was the entry anyways, but let me take it out so we can do it together. Yeah. Okay, so this was it. So price, you can see, let's see what's the time. This was 7:52. Okay, so this was around 8 a.m. so you can see price was just doing its thing. Now I have, of course, based on our entry models, we have the Tom Philip and then the Tom Links. So here you can see clearly that there was no setup. So clearly here you can see that there's no setup here, right? So let's see this. So here, this was, let me just draw this, right? I'm really just breaking this down, and this, of course, I break this down more in the course. So here we have this. Okay, of course I'm going to show you that I actually took the trade too anyways, just in case I have doubters. Anyway, so we had this. So based on this type of structure for me, there's none of the entries. Okay, the tom flip or the tom legs. Okay, so I wouldn't usually chase price. I wouldn't take any trade because I have to see exactly what I need to see. Okay, so nothing really here. Now let's just continue playing this so you see how I got to that. Let me take this out too so I can draw it afresh. Okay, so you can see price was pulling back into this area. So let's see what happens next. I'm going to show you exactly the setup that I took. Perfect. Now let me show you what I took. So you can see here, look at this. This low price, pull back a little bit. Okay, pull back, made a new high, came into this area, rejected it, and then we had a flip. Complete perfect book, you know, off the book, right? Off the book, what they call it, or whatever. Anyways, this is the complete textbook setup. Okay, so, and let me explain why. Now look at this candle here. I draw this across. That's my 1 minute POI. So let's see what happens here, and so you understand why I decided to take this trade, right, on the 1 minute, even though my 15 minutes was not tapped. But I saw this setup and I knew that, hey, this was it. So you could see price return into this area, flipped, and then sold off. Okay, so that's a buy to sell flip. Okay, so if I can just add a note here, buy to sell flip, right? Or we can also call it, and put it there, we can also call it demand to supply flip. You see that? Okay, so demand to supply flip, right? So this was basically it. Okay, so price came into the area, flipped, and then we had the sell-off. Okay, so demand to supply flip. Now I'll usually put this from the flip zone or from this area, and then I'll put that, you know, around here. Now this would be, you know, this usually be how I draw my flip tool, and then I'll take this, my entry. Of course, I was expecting a sell. So how many? Okay, just to be sure, I'm trying to remember. I think I used 4 pips thereabout. So this was the high. Okay, so that was let me put that. I think I entered here. I'll show you anyways exactly so you see what I did. So yeah, so I think about 4 pips thereabout. Okay, so I knew usually I'll put my stop loss above this, but I'll normally do this. Okay, this is 3.1 pips. I'll normally just add 1 pip to it, so maybe 4.1 pip thereabout. Okay, just in case price, you know, comes, you know, to this area. So that was it. So, and I targeted 1 to 15. Now remember, we have our target. Oh, you can even see that. Okay, I have this here. Now I had taken a lot of partials along the journey, so this was the last one, the last volume I had left, you know, if I took out you know, my everything. So let's take this was, I targeted 1 to 15. Yes, this was the exact, you know, target for me. You can see this is around 10869. Let's look at the 15 minutes. 10869. Oh, we don't even need to do that, right? 10869. This was 1 to 15 I was targeting, but let's look at the snapshot I even had there already, so you could see clearly. Let's interrogate this and let's look at this together. 10. Let's look at my 15 minutes mark. You can see that's 8696. You see that? That's around the area 869699 thereabout. Okay, so that was where I took out. That was about 1 to 15, you know, for me. So that's where I took out, you know, my final volumes. I took out so much of the volume, you know, I was just taking it along the journey, because price can do anything really. So after price tag me in, you know, you can have all of this type of movements, and price can do this, and then price can just reverse. Imagine getting about 1 to 10 and leaving everything, okay, and then price reverses on you. That's going to be so terrible. So that's why sometimes I take profits, you know, along the journey, especially when the target is really large. Okay, so this was it. So let's look at this. and I'll show proof, okay, of all the partials I was taking along the journey. Not necessarily how much, but I'll show you that I actually did that. Okay, so this was it. So I had seen this buy to sell flip, and then I expected the price would return, tap me in before continuing downwards, and let's see what happens afterwards. So that was it. You can see got tapped in, and that was it. This was a massive move, you know, for me, and that gave me confidence to be able to hold this trade, that this was actually going to play out eventually. Now I got tapped in around, you look at this was around 8:33, so you can look at it, you can see the time, and I was able to hold this trade. I took partials. I think I took the first partial trade profit around 10 hour thereabout. Okay, so let's see. Price was just doing its thing, was just moving. You can see the time. This was around 12:07. Yeah, 12:50 thereabout. You can see that price was just doing its thing. I took partials, like I mentioned, and I'm going to show you that. So price was just doing its thing, but I was holding the fourth, right? I went about my day. Actually, I wasn't watching this. Definitely I couldn't have been watching this. So but that was it. I had alarms set up, and then eventually, yep, and that was it. 1 to 50, around 350, price arrived safely, and you can look at, you can see, you know, basically that yes, price actually got to, you know, arrived, you know, at my area of whatever, arrived safely, you know, at my TP, right? And that was it, 1 to 15. Now this was an interesting trade because all through the week I think I only took 3 trades, and full disclosure, 2 of the other trades were losses. Okay, and this was the win for me. So you can imagine I had 2 losses, which means basically I was plus 13, you know, in terms of profit for the week, right? And that's the amazing part of simply just following a plan and following a strategy. It doesn't matter, you take losses, but if you know what you're doing, at the end of the day, your profits will outweigh your losses. So you can imagine what it would take for me to lose all of this profit. Okay, I'll need to lose, you know, a lot of trades, over 10 trades, 12, 13 trades, you know, for me to really lose all of these gains that I've made, you know, as a result of this trade. Now that's the reality of trading, and that is why it's super important to learn properly and follow a strategy. Don't strategy hop, you know, you're jumping from this to that. Now let me just show you something. If this trade had actually come into my 4-hour zone, sorry, my 15 minutes, you can see the 15 minutes setup did not work. Okay, so if I was only entering the 15 minutes, I actually would have lost this move. I actually wouldn't have gotten this move, and it would have been painful, right? But because I chose to, I would normally enter on the 15 minutes and also go to 1 minute and look for entry setup, and that's why I was able to catch this. So 1 to 15, the 15 minutes would have given me 1 to 10, but you can see in my 1 minute entry I was able to catch 1 to 15, and that's the reality of, you know, trading this. Now when I also look at this, so I said I was going to show you this just to show you proof, so you can see that this was the trade. Let's look at the date. Let's look at date here. So you have the 12th, right? So you can see the 12th here. So you can see that on the 12th I had the 15-minute setup trade, sell limit trade that, you know, I really didn't get tapped in, but then this is my 1 minute trade. So you can see the 1 minute I took some partials, you know, along the journey. I can see all of the timing when I took those partials, right? And that is basically, you know, or that was basically it. Okay, so that is it. Okay, so simple, well, yeah, simple, because it follows, you know, the stock and profit trading models in the course, and straightforward. So this is basically how to do this. Now you can tell that with this type of trade in a month, I don't need to trade a lot, right? I just need to trade maybe 3, 5 maximum, usually around maybe 10 or less trades in a month. And it's not the number of times you trade that determines your profitability, it's the quality of the trades you take, right? Quality over quantity. You simply have to wait for the setups to present themselves. Now, like I told you, I missed this trade. You can see this trade here on the 50 minutes. Okay, this was a 1 to 11. I actually missed this, and the reason was simple for me at the time. So I missed it for different reasons anyways, which I'm not going to explain, but I missed this trade. But then that did not make me to begin to rush into, you know, taking just any type of trade. Okay, so I had to wait to really see my setup, and eventually I was able to get my 1 to 15. Okay, so trading is a patience game, and if you learn properly, if you get schooled properly, you're really gonna make this. Okay, and that's just the reality of it. So hey, that is basically it, and that's a review of the trade. So if you want to hop on the course, feel free. In the description section, I believe you see a promo code to get some discount and hop on the course and start learning properly and start your journey. And patient, okay, 1, 2, 3 years to really get this thing is worth it. Okay, if you really want to do it. So there's no rich trading is not a get rich quick scheme, as many people tout it. They see all the Lambos and they see all the things people put online. Forget all about that. That's not your goal. It may be your goal partly, right? That's your reality, right? But that shouldn't be your goal. Then next 1 month I just start trading, I just started learning, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Forget about it. Learn it properly, master your art, okay? Master your craft. Footballers, the best footballers in the world did not become footballers by just practicing for 2 months or 3 months and they became the best. No, they practice for years. Okay, so if you want to be the best at what you do, you must have in mind that you need to spend some quality time. Okay, and that might take 1, 2, 3 years, depending on your own commitment. Okay, so hey, that is it. I wish you all the best, and if you're on the course, of course, please study well, ask questions. If you're not on the course and you want to have you want to take advantage of the promo currently running, I think 20% to 25%, please ensure you do that. I wish you the best. Stay stuck in profit, and see you next time. Bye bye.